Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this hearing to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home and the traditional lands of the Ojibwe, the Cree, Dakota people, and the national homelands of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson this morning. Introduce the panel members present. We have Ruth Carol Feldman. She is present. And via Zoom, we have Diane Knight. Our recording secretary is Sally Cofield, and representing the city of Winnipeg is Candace Wright from the assessment department. We won't talk about the Zoom because everybody is more or less present. So we'll be hearing application for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested has been described in each application and will limit discussions to those matters. The statements that are made in this hearing are sworn testimony, and anybody speaking in these matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent, along with the city administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence provided at the hearing and issue a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision in respect to application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board's order. In respect to the hearing this morning, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant. Following the swearing in, we will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then it'll be the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each party will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket this morning. The session will close after all applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded and be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 5 and 10 on the docket. So I ask Ms. Cofield to affirm the assessor and to swear in the applicant.
Thank you, Mr.
Cofield.
Chair. Madam Assessor, please state your full name.
Candace Wright.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please state your full name.
Ryan Oliveros.
Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Oliveros, you're no stranger here, so you know the routine. So we'll go to the first property that we are going to deal with is 791 Magnus Avenue. We will first hear from Ms. Wright. So the floor is yours, Ms. Wright.
Thank you. The subject property is roll number 14022143000. This is 791 Magnus Avenue. This is a 1.5-story house located in the borough's central neighborhood. The year built and effective year built are 1948. The living area on record is 1,456 square feet. It does have a full basement, but the basement is unfinished. There is one full bathroom. There is no central air, no fireplace, and there is a single car detached garage. The lot size is 2,463 square feet, and it does have a commercial adjacent influence. The current 2024 assessment for this property is $195,000, which works out to $133.93 per square foot. I have 4 comparable properties here that are all 1.5 stories in the borough central neighborhood. The year built for these properties ranges from 1921 to 1926. The effective year built ranges from 1925 to 1941. The living area ranges from 1,100 square feet to 1,347 square feet. All of these comparable properties have full basements. Comparable 2 does have basement finish, but the other 3 do not. The bathroom count ranges from 1 full to 2 full baths. Comparables 1 and 4 have central air conditioning, but the other 2 do not. None of these properties have fireplaces, and they all have detached garages. Comparables 1, 2, and 4 are single car detached garages similar to the subject, and comparable 3 does have a multiple car detached garage. The lot size for these properties ranges from 3,547 square feet to 4,760 square feet. Comparable 1 is located on a bus route and has medium traffic. The other 3 comparables have no influences of note. The sale price for these properties ranges from $135,000 to $195,000. That gives us a time-adjusted sale price range from $139,300 to $208,300, and a time-adjusted price per square foot ranging from $126.64 to $174.16. So I feel that based on these 4 comparables I've presented, the current assessment for the subject property is supported by market evidence. Thank you.
I thank you, Ms. Wright. Mr. Oliveris, questions of the assessor?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Wright, looking at the subject property here, you state in your evidence one of the land influences is that is adjacent to a commercial property. That's correct?
Yes.
So is that a value negative to the property?
Yes, that in our assessment model, that would give a reduction to the property because it is near. There's actually several commercial properties. There's an apartment, there's a mechanic shop kind of within that same block.
Okay. And is it for the adjustments for the commercial adjacencies, is it standard across all properties once that factor is inputted into the model?
So that the model would value that commercial adjacent influence based on market evidence. So it would be based on basically the statistics that are run in a regression model to show what type of reduction properties would typically see that were near a commercial property. I'm not sure what the exact number is for this property specifically, but I do know it would be a reduction on the model value.
So are you aware that at the time, or as of the reference date here, that the property 2 lots down from it at 1466 Arlington, that was functioning as a homeless shelter?
I was not aware of exactly what that property was, no.
Okay. I mean, given that fact, would you say that further adjustments in general would be required because of that factor?
I believe we would need to review market evidence to determine exactly what that adjustment could be. I do recognize that that could be difficult. I don't think it's a common situation to be located near a homeless shelter, but I feel that any reductions to the market value should be based on market evidence.
Okay. And the lot sizes for your comparables, they are all greater than the subject property?
Yes, they are.
And that's already been taken into account as well?
Yes, I believe so. The living area is slightly larger than the other 3 properties. And then if you look at the assessment price per square foot, we are closer to the lower end of the range. So I do feel that that accounts for that smaller lot size at the subject property.
Have you reviewed the photos of the comparables that you presented today?
I did. I reviewed the MLS listings for these comparables.
Okay. And have there been, or are you aware of the upgrades that have been made to comparables 1 and 2?
Yeah, so I do have some notes here. Yeah, so I am aware that comparable 1 the kitchen has been updated at some point. And I am aware that the subject property is likely a bit less renovated than those two properties. However, my comparables 3 and 4 are quite dated, and I would say likely closer to the level of renovations of the subject property.
Those are all my questions. Thank you, Ms. Wright. And Mr.
Thank you.
Chair, I do have rebuttal to submit as well.
All right, we'll deal with that very shortly. Ms. Knight, questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, I thank you. Ms. Feldman, any questions in regards to what you've heard from the
At this time, I have no questions. Thank you.
I just have a couple questions. All the comparables are in the north end, and they're all very similar to the subject property, correct? They're all 1.5 story, around the same size.
Yeah.
But I noticed that comparable number 4 is the lowest. It's got the lowest sale.
Mhm.
So, did you investigate that at all in regards to, what it looks like or how it's, is Pritchard an equivalent street compared to the subject property, or is it a lesser?
I would say that's fairly subjective. I mean, I would consider it fairly comparable in terms of location to the subject property. If you refer to my map, it is just a couple streets over, a bit further kind of to the southwest. And the property was listed on MLS, so I did have a chance to review photos. Like I had said previously, that property is quite dated, older kitchen, older bathrooms, older carpet throughout a lot of the house. So that may be part of what contributed to that lower sale price.
All right, I thank you.
you.
Just a couple of the questions. This property is owned by the church, is it not?
Yes.
Offhand? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's probably like a rental property, is it not?
I believe it is a rental property, yes.
So, and did you do an inspection at all or do a drive-by past this property at all?
I did drive by. I believe it was sometime about a month ago, near the end of August. I drove by, and I did have a chance to review a few photos that were sent by Altus when I was preparing for the hearing. So that was where I gathered my information, was from the drive-by and then photos that were received from the representative.
So it almost looks like in the pictures that it's a little run down.
Yes, from especially, I would say the exterior of the house is a bit run down. And sorry, just to confirm, that was based on the photos that Mr. Oliveros presented. Right.
All right. So, but you're satisfied in regards to what you've come up in regards to the subject's value, 195?
Yeah, I feel that it is reasonable based on the comparables I've presented. As we said, I do recognize that the first two have had a few more renovations likely than the subject property, but then the comparables 3 and 4 are quite dated.
All right. I thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Oliveira, we're going to deal with your rebuttal. So has it been submitted?
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Give me a moment and I'll distribute it.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
It should be in your SharePoint drive. Can I just see and make sure that it's in here? Perfect, thank you.
Right. Diane, are you okay?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Right. Mr. Oliveris, the floor is yours in regards to the rebuttal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before I begin here, I would like to say my observations of these cities comparables here, I was not able to provide photos on them. So they're based off of my observations from MLS. And the reason why I cannot provide photos is because MLS is actually a paid subscription service. So we are legally not allowed to place photos in our brief for that reason. I do always try to search for public photos that would look up on Google that I can submit onto these briefs. However, I was not able to find any. So just to clear that up before I begin. So
All right.
let me go on to page 2 of my rebuttal, comparable 1. It's located at 858 Mountain Avenue. Now, some notes here that I would like the board to note is that there is new flooring throughout the home, new windows, the bathroom does appear upgraded, and it does appear to be well maintained based on the MLS photographs that I did observe. And I believe Ms. Wright had already alluded to that, so thank you. Comparable number 2 is located at 793 Manitoba Avenue. It does have a finished basement, whereas the subject property does not. The porch does appear to have some updates made to it based off of what I saw with new flooring, and one of the full bathrooms appears to have been updated with some fixtures as well. So I was able to get photos of the exterior. So these updates, I would like the board to note that they would require adjustments in order to bring them to the standard of the subject property itself. And that concludes my presentation for my rebuttal. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Wright, questions of the rebuttal of Mr. Oliveris?
Not at this time, thank you.
All right, I thank you. Ms. Wright, I'm sorry, Ms. Knight.
I'm just trying to figure out where they're located, where those properties are located. So if I look on the city's map, where are those located?
Candace.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just referring to my map here. So comparable number 1 at 858 Mountain, that's the.
Oh, he's talking about your comparables. Okay, and
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I got it now. Okay. Yeah, I thought I was looking for something different, and I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm good then.
All right, thank you. Ms. Feldman, questions of the rebuttal from Mr. Oliveris?
No, I'm satisfied with what I've heard. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any questions. So, Mr. Oliveris, we're ready for your presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so the subject property is located at 791 Magnus Avenue. The roll number is 14-0221-4300. The file number is 23-354. I'm going to go on to page 3 of my evidence here. So again, the subject is located on Magnus Avenue, and it's between the intersections with Sinclair Street and Arlington, and it is in the borough central area of Winnipeg. Now, I would like to make a few comments regarding this area. I did grow up in this part of the city, so I can say the borough central area itself, it is not a desirable area. How should I say, the environment from block to block does vary depending on where in the borough central neighborhood you are, or just within that region in general. Magnus Avenue in particular, this is coming from the comments from my clients as well, is one of the less desirable streets within the borough central neighborhood. And as I alluded to in questioning at the time, as of the reference date, the property adjacent to the subject, it was functioning as a homeless shelter. That unfortunately did bring with it many negative influences. Unfortunately, there were sites of individuals using illegal narcotics, making it very concerning for the individuals that were living in that area. So those are the comments I would like to make regarding the neighborhood. So the subject property itself, it is a 1.5-story residence. It was built in 1948 and it is being used as a rental property. Now, the size of the subject here, I know I have 976, that was revised, and I do agree with the assessor here that the total square footage of the subject is 1,456 square feet. And the land size of the subject is 2,463 square feet with residential zoning. And again, it has the commercial adjacency influence on it, which again, one of the large factors affecting the value of the subject property, in my opinion, is the homeless shelter that was located next to it. I've also provided photos of the subject property starting on page 11 of my evidence. Now, yes, the exterior of the subject does appear to be in rough shape. And the interior here does appear to be well maintained, so I will give the property that. So moving on to my analysis of my comparables here. So I've identified 4 comparables. The first is located at 974 Magnus Avenue, built in 1949. The living area is 1,582 square feet with an unfinished basement, 4 bedrooms, 2 full baths. There's no air conditioning. There's a single detached garage, and it also has a commercial influence to it. However, there have been some upgrades made to this property, including the shingles, the electrical fixtures, the furnace, vinyl flooring, and the kitchen. This property, it sold for a time adjusted sale price of $234,700. 1530 William, it's located in a different neighborhood in the Weston area, built in 1946. Size is 1,220 square feet. There's no garage. The lot size is 4,502 square feet with school influence. And the time adjusted sale price is $172,600. And the upgrades to this comparable include the main floor bath, windows, roof, furnace, hot water tank, and air conditioning. 573 Manitoba, that's located in the William White neighborhood. It's a 1.5-story property built in 1942 with a living area of 1,426 square feet and an unfinished basement. There's no garage, and there is then the sale price is $155,400, and the upgrades to this property include the flooring. Comparable 4 at 921 Redwood Avenue is a 1.5-story dwelling built in 1946. The living area is 1,368 square feet, but this property does have a fully finished basement. The bedrooms above grade, there are 3 bedrooms above grade, 2 full baths, a double detached garage, external corridor with a light traffic influence, and the time adjusted sale price is $191,900. And the upgrades made to this property include the basement with new flooring, windows, and the roof, which is 5 years new from the date of the listing. So based on these comparables, and again, my comments regarding the street that this property is located on, I do believe that a fair April 2021 market value for the subject property would be $158,704. That works out to $109 per square foot. But that is rounded to a value of $159,000. And I have also included a map of the comparable sales for you all to refer to on page 17 of my evidence. And I've included photos, exterior photos of the comparable sales on pages 18 to 19. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
I thank you, sir. Ms. Wright, questions of Mr. Oliveros?
Yeah, I just have a few questions. So I did notice in the photos you submitted, there are exterior photos and then a couple, I believe it's of the living room. There are no photos of the kitchen or bathroom. Have those been updated? And if so, do you know approximately when they would have been updated?
I actually don't know if there has been updates made to the kitchen area.
right. And then were you aware that 3 of your comparables, so 974 Magnus, 573 Manitoba, and 921 Redwood, that those 3 properties have been converted, so now they are considered duplexes. Each of them have 2 dwelling units.
I'm aware of that, yes.
Okay, and do you feel that would affect the market value?
I do feel that would affect the market value. From my experience, and I've done many of these types of rental homes and duplexes, I have found typically that duplexes, if you have a separate entrance for the individual units, I found that most of the time that it would actually increase the value of the home because you're able to rent out more units, therefore more rent.
Okay, I believe those are all my questions at this time. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Knight?
Yeah, what was the value on those pictures? The 794 Magnus, what was the value you came up with for that one?
The value of 794 Magnus. Oh, so yeah, our final value for 791 Magnus, I believe.
794, it says. The picture says 794. The 4 pictures that you put on?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I thought we were asking the value. So 794 Magnus sold for a time adjusted sale price here of $234,700.
Okay, and 1530 William?
1530 William, 172,600.
And 573 Magnus?
155,400.
And those are all at the time of this, that this is audited to?
Yes, those are at the time that is audited to. We use the city's time adjusted sale
Okay.
price in this case.
Okay. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Feldman, questions of the assessor?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, I thank you. This property is rented, Mr. Oliveris?
Yes, it is.
Do you know what the rent is?
Right now, I believe it is $1,200 a month, and that includes the mortgage and property taxes.
Okay. Is there a lease in place?
That would be the $1,000 and $1,200. Or sorry, that would be the $1,200. So yes, there is a lease in place.
Yeah. Is it a yearly lease or month to month or?
That is the month to month lease. Or I don't know exactly what the lease term on it is, if that is what you're questioning about.
Okay. I note that just one observation, the city has got 4 comparables, your comparables 4 also, but they're not similar. There's not any they're not the same as what the city's at. So you were able to find some other sales other than what the city has to support your value?
Yes, and I believe the difference was that my comparables included duplexes, but I mean in this area, these were the comparables that I was able to find that were close in age to the subject.
All right. I thank you. Ms. Wright, summation if you want.
Sure. So just briefly, like I went over, I feel that based on the 4 comparables I've presented, I do recognize that the first 2 are maybe a bit more renovated than the subject property, and they all are a bit older. Like we've kind of discussed, the reason that I selected these comparables is I was looking for single family dwellings that had not been converted to duplexes. So I do feel that based on the comparables I've presented, the current assessment of the subject property is within that range. Thank you.
I thank you, Mr. Oliveris. Submission if you want.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like again the board to note the specific area that the subject property is located in. Again, it's located next to a homeless shelter that has had, again, negative influences to the neighborhood. Again, the use of illegal narcotics within the area that make it a very uncomfortable place to live in. So for that reason, I do ask that the adjustments be made to reflect the substantial negative influence that the homeless shelter has had on the subject property.
I thank you, sir. All right, let's go to the next one on the docket, which is 609 Park Avenue East. Ms. Wright, whenever you're ready, you can take us through this property.
Okay, thank you. The roll number is 100059030000. This is 609 Park Boulevard East. This is a two-story house located in the South Tuxedo neighborhood. The year built and effective year built are 1978. The living area is 3,570 square feet. It has a full basement with no basement finish. There is one full bathroom and 2 half bathrooms with 2 showers. There is central air conditioning, 1 fireplace, and an attached multiple car garage. The assessed lot size is 15,625 square feet, and the subject property does face a park. The current 2024 assessment for this property is $1,016,000, which is $284.59 per square foot. Now I have 4 comparables here that are all 2 stories located in the South Tuxedo neighborhood. The year built ranges from 1977 to 1986. The effective year built ranges from 1978 to 1987. The living area ranges from 2,748 square feet to 3,557 square feet. All of these properties have full basements. Comparable 1 does have basement finish, but I would like to note that it was listed as partially finished. Comparables 2 and 3 were listed with full basement finish, and then comparable 4 has an unfinished basement similar to the subject property. The bathroom count for these properties ranges from 2 full baths to 4 full baths. All have central air conditioning, all have fireplaces. Comparable number 4 does have 2 fireplaces. All of these properties have either attached or built-in garages. Comparable number 1 does have a pool and a sunroom, so an adjustment would be required for that. The lot size of these properties ranges from 9,004 square feet to 15,670 square feet. Comparables 2 and 4, so that's 641 Park Boulevard East and 658 Park Boulevard West, do face the same park as the subject property, which you can see on the map I've provided on the second page of my evidence. And then comparable number 2 is also located on an external corner. The sale price for these properties ranged from $682,500 to $1,131,313. The time adjusted sale price ranges from $696,200 to $1,226,300. And this gives us a time adjusted price per square foot ranging from $253.35 to $354.63. Before I finish my presentation, I will just briefly go over the condition of each of the properties. So I am aware that the subject property is fairly original, has had very few renovations. So my comparable 1 is also fairly original. It appears that the kitchens, bathrooms are quite original. There's carpet throughout many of the rooms. Comparable 2, as you can tell by the effective year built we have on record, that property has been more renovated. The kitchen was updated at some point. Some of the bathrooms have been redone. It looks like some bathrooms are original. So not fully renovated, but there have been a few updates. Comparable number 3 at the time of the sale was almost completely original. I did note that after this sale took place, it was fully renovated and resold again later. And then my comparable number 4 is also fairly original. It has an older kitchen, carpet in many of the rooms. I did make note that there was a photo of 1 bathroom that had been renovated. So I just thought it would be useful to go over the condition of each of these properties with knowing that the subject property is fairly original. But based on these 4 comparables I've provided, I do feel that the current subject assessment of $1,016,000 or $284.59 per square foot is supported by market evidence. Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Oliveris, questions of Ms. Wright?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Barrett. Ms. Wright, so again, you stated here that 3 out of your 4 comparables, comparables 1 to 3, have finished basements, correct?
Yes, comparable 1 is partly finished, but the other 2 do have fully finished basements.
And this property being on Park Boulevard, would you agree that it is, Park Boulevard would probably be considered one of the most pristine streets in Winnipeg? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
So the subject property not having a finished basement, that would influence the value of the subject, correct?
Yeah, I do feel that having basement finish would affect market value. But I will note that what I feel are my best 2 comparables, which is comparable 1 and 4. Comparable 4 does have a completely unfinished basement similar to the subject property. Comparable 1 does have some basement finish, but like I said, it is just partly finished. And I do feel that if you look at those sale prices, they are higher than the current assessment for the subject property. So I do feel that that has been accounted for as well.
And prices during this time when it comes to landscaping, any materials needed to update homes, they were quite high they were on the rise during this time, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. So in an area such as this, we would expect any potential purchaser to spend above the dollar average. Would you agree with that as well?
Sorry, so in this particular area, that renovations would be more costly than other areas?
Yes.
Or, yeah, I mean, I would say that it kind of depends on the individual and the type of renovations that you choose to go with for your home. So some people may choose high-end, high-quality materials for their renovations, and some people may not. I think that varies depending on the individual.
Those are all my questions. I do have rebuttal to submit after the board's questioning as well.
All right, we'll deal with that after. Ms. Knight, questions?
I do not have any. No.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Feldman?
No, thank you.
All right, I have just one observation, and that is the subject lot is quite big, and only comparable number 1 and number 4 are quite similar to lot size.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. All right, let's deal with the rebuttal then, Mr. Oliveris. Sally, please.
All right, give me 1 moment to distribute.
Okay.
You should have it now. Okay. And here's the second rebuttal. 23,265. 23,265. Here we go. Hang on.
Diane, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
All right. Mr. Oliveris, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so going to page 2 of my rebuttal here. So the city's first comparable here is 723 Park Boulevard East. Observing the photos that I found on the public domain, that the subject, sorry, to the city's first comparable, it does have superior landscaping in the backyard. There's an in-ground pool and a gazebo. The interior design, in my opinion, is superior to the subject as well, and it does have a finished basement. We go on to page 8 of my rebuttal. The city's second comparable is located at 641 Park Boulevard East. It does have a fully finished basement. The backyard landscaping, again, in my opinion, is superior to the subject. There were over $140,000 worth of upgrades made to this property, including the modern interior, new flooring, repainting the secondary bedroom, which was completely remodeled, electrical fixtures, receptacles, switches, an additional 100 amp sub panel, garage lighting, and the completely renovated bath with a marble floor. Which I can find any public photos of this city of this comparable. The fourth comparable is located at 658 Park Boulevard West. Now, this comparable, I understand that it has not had many upgrades made to it as well, but my concern with this comparable is the layout itself. From my experience with the market, I did purchase a home within this period. Having a home with vaulted ceilings, more of the open concept space would have a higher marketability than the subject, which is more of the enclosed spaces. Again, there's the modern standards. I understand that there are preferences within the market, but I do not believe that we can escape the fact that the open concepts are more standard and therefore would fetch a higher price than properties with more enclosed spaces. So again, that's why I've made a note that there is a flexible layout to 658 Park Boulevard West. And that concludes my presentation for my rebuttal. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Wright, questions in regards to the rebuttal?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Knight, any questions?
No, sir.
Ms. Feldman?
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether you were comparing homes that were all either 2-story, 1.5 bungalows. Are they all the same style?
The city's comparables are all 2 stories.
They are
Yes.
all 2 stories.
Yes.
Okay, so this property, 641 Park Boulevard. It looks like it's not quite is it a full 2-story or is there a like you can see it off the roof, there seems to be some windows and a bedroom upstairs perhaps?
Yes, I mean, I can only observe.
More contemporary style.
Mhm.
And do you know the dates, the years that these homes were built?
So comparable 1723 Park Boulevard, it was built in 1984. 641 Park Boulevard, it was built in 1977.
Okay.
631 Holland, built in 1986, and 658 Park Boulevard was built in 1978.
Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Oliveris, your presentation, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the subject property at 609 Park Boulevard East, the roll number is 10-005-903-000. The file number is 23-265. I am going to go on to page 3 of my evidence. So the subject, it is located on Park Boulevard East, and it's near the intersection with Grant Avenue, and it is located in the South Tuxedo neighborhood of Winnipeg. It's improved with a 2-story dwelling that's built in 1978, and it is being used as a single-family home. The site size, according to the city's records, is 15,625 square feet with residential zoning. And the subject property itself is 3,570 square feet with an unfinished basement. And I will make note of the fact that this subject is located across the street from Hubert Park, which is a good area. I've included photos of the subject property on pages 11 to 18 of my evidence for you all to observe. And you can see from the finishing of, or the interior finishing.
Oh, he's talking, excuse me, just want to find it here.
No, that's okay.
It's his presentation, so.
Yeah, okay, it's fine. You may proceed, thank you.
Thank you. So we can see from the photos that the subject is dated. It has old flooring, old wallpaper, old stained glass cabinets, and old carpets throughout the home. Now, again, I've acknowledged that this property is in a good location, but the dated fixtures in this case, I feel would far outweigh the benefits, especially for a home on Park Boulevard. And so that would decrease again the marketability of the subject. My experience in this neighborhood, I've done inspections of multiple homes that have been purchased within this neighborhood. More often than not, I do see that when these types of homes are purchased with the dated elements, that the new purchaser typically does a complete overhaul of the property. Either they knock it down or they update the interior, and the costs of these types of renovations are in the hundreds of thousands. So again, I would like to note that the basement of the subject property, it is unfinished. Now, typically, a basic finish home would cost about $42 per square foot. But in my opinion, a home on Park Boulevard, I believe that any purchaser would more than likely spend above the average cost to finish a basement in this area. So I'm going to loop back to my comparables here on page 8 of my evidence. So we have 4 comparables here, all located within the South Tuxedo neighborhood at 38 Billingham, 22 Stockton Place, 23 Dunbar, and 223 Portsmouth Boulevard. On pages 22, you will find more detailed photos of 23 Dunbar that I was able to find in the public domain. And as well, you can see photos of the interior for 223 Portsmouth on page 24. So these comparables, they range in age from 1981 to 1994. Sizes range from 3,100 square feet to 3,436 square feet. All of these comparables have finished basement with the exception of comparable number 2, which has a partially finished basement. And I provided the bedroom and bathroom counts here. All these properties have are air conditioned with fireplaces, each with double attached garages like the subject property. The lot sizes range from 9,123 square feet to 13,400 square feet, all with the same residential zoning as a subject property, but however, they do not have that park influence. So the sale prices that have applied to these comparables, they are the original sale prices. It is my opinion that with homes in the South Tuxedo neighborhood, they are all so very unique in their own design. And appraisal theory would state that when you are making time adjustments, which is the first adjustment that you would make, that each home would have to be comparable or very similar to one another in order to make that time adjustment. That's why in this case, I cannot justify using any time adjustments for these comparables. You do just have to go with the prices that they sold at the time. So the sale prices for the comparables that I identified, they range from $800,000 to $925,000. We can see here, comparable 1 has an upgraded bathroom, kitchen, and windows. Comparable 2, it does appear well maintained with many of its original elements. And comparable 3, the upgrades include the kitchen, bathroom, and windows. The sale prices per square foot range from $250 to $298.39 per square foot. Now comparable 4 here, yes, there have been no upgrades, but it is actually one of the newer properties built out of the 4 comparables that I identified. And you can see that from the photos that I provided, again, starting on page 24 for that comparable. So my observations of these comps. So we can see that comparable 1, it is newer than the subject. It is the most similar in size, and I have mentioned the upgrades already. Comparable 2, I would consider that my best comparable. It is newer than the subject property. It's slightly smaller at 3,200 square feet, but I do have to again acknowledge that it does have a smaller land size, but it does have a partially finished basement. But the reason why I chose this as my best comparable is because it does have its original elements like the subject property. Comparable 3 is the closest in age. It does have a finished basement, similar living area to the subjects. It does have a smaller land size. And the upgrades include the kitchen, bathroom, and the windows, as I've mentioned. Comparable 4, this would be, I have put the least amount of weight on this property, but again, I would like to note here, it is much newer than the subject. It's smaller in size. It does have a finished basement, a smaller in land size, and again, it does have a finished basement, so that would be considered, that is a comparable that I put the least amount of weight on. So based on these reasons, I have concluded here that the subject property should be assessed at $250 per square foot or $893,000. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Wright, questions of Mr. Oliveris?
Sure, thank you. So you had mentioned that you aren't using any time adjustments for these properties. So I see your first 2 comparables sold in 2019. The third one was early 2020. So do you feel that there would be no change at all in the market for those properties between those sales dates and our reference date of April 1st, 2021?
Yeah, so I just believe to make time adjustments for homes of this size, it would be it would be difficult to put it plainly. And again, like I said, in order to make the time adjustments, you have to get 2 properties at least to be almost identical to one another in order to come up with a viable time adjustment.
So it is likely that there would be a time adjustment. It's just really hard to determine what that time adjustment should be, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Precisely, yes.
Okay, thank you. And then one other question. So I noted that none of your comparables are located on a park. Do you feel that that would affect the market value of the property?
I would, yes. But again, this property itself, many dated fixtures, it is very dated. So I believe that would trump, again, the fact that it would be located near a park because of the amount of renovation that would have to be made to it.
Okay, thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Knight?
Do you have an outside picture of this property?
Of the subject? Yes.
Yeah.
There is a picture on page 2 of my evidence.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I thank you. Ms. Feldman?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Oliveris, do you think that people pay a premium to be on Park Boulevard?
Yes, I believe they do.
But you can't really prove it, can you?
Not typically I would be able to prove that a property on Park Boulevard would sell for more than other streets in this area. But in this particular case, it is quite difficult given the dated fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always held that opinion that Park Boulevard is a very pristine street in Winnipeg.
And like you say, your rate per square foot for all your comparables range from $250 a square foot to I think $298, eh?
Yes.
Okay. And you're coming in at $252 a square foot, eh?
I am coming in at 250 actually. So at the bottom end, again, it's just because of the dated fixtures that I'm going at the low end.
All right. Okay, I thank you. Ms. Wright, summation at all if you want?
Sure, thank you. So I do believe that based on the comparables I've presented, the current assessment is supported by market evidence. I agree that there would be a positive effect on market value to be located on Park Boulevard, and especially on Park Boulevard facing the park. I do feel that my comparable number 4 is my best comparable. It's a 2-story house built in the same year, similar in size. It has an unfinished basement. It has a relatively large lot, slightly smaller than the subject property, but relatively large, and it does face the park. And like I went over, there have been a few updates to this property, but for the most part, it is fairly dated and similar to the subject property, would require a lot of the same updates if the buyer chose after the sale. So I do feel that based on all of the comparables I presented, but specifically my comparable number 4, I do feel that the current assessment is supported by market evidence. Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. Oliveris, final word?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So again, I would like the board to note that the subject property itself is very dated, so that does need to be taken into account. I'm not going to take away the fact that this property is located on Park Boulevard. However, because of those dated fixtures, I believe that any potential purchaser, again, would have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on upgrades, which would really trump the fact that this property is located on Park Boulevard. I understand that there's a larger land size, but based on the comparables that I found here, I do believe that $250 a square foot or $893,000 for the subject property is a fair value.
I thank you. Summation, Ms. Wright, or think, no, I'm sorry. All right. I think Ms. Wright, that concludes your part here. So I thank you and have a pleasant day. And Mr. Oliveris, thank you for your presentation and results very soon. We have heard all the items scheduled and this hearing is now adjourned. So thank you all and have a good weekend.